Hello YouTube, it's Will with another screencast of my voiceover production process. Let me repeat some disclaimers that I said last time. I am not a professional audio engineer. I am not a professional voiceover guy, although I've been dabbling in it for a while and I seem to be doing okay. What I'm going to talk about today is some new plugins that I've been playing with and show you some improvements to my workflow. Last time I showed you an editing process, so I'm not going to do much in the way of editing. This is a 30-second take that's straight off the microphone without any edits, and it came out pretty good. What I've done is I've marked some areas on this 30-second recording that are in need of sonic improvement. Improvements to my delivery are left to a voice coach, and I'm making no claim about the quality of my delivery. But I have noticed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 or so audio problems with this recording, which is otherwise halfway decent. Here you'll hear, I'm going to play this for you without any processing on it. You'll hear here a strong plosive. You'll hear a mouth click at this point. You'll hear another one here, a really nasty set of mouth clicks over here. You'll hear an H sound, which produces a rumble in the microphone here. We'll end with a click and a rustle of my jacket. So let's listen to this, and then we'll get to work on this recording. This is the story of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Perhaps the most remarkable, certainly the most successful book ever to come out of the great publishing corporations of Ursa Minor. More popular than the Celestial Home Care Omnibus, better selling than 53 More Things to Do in Zero Gravity, and more controversial than Ulan Khaloufad's trilogy of philosophical blockbusters, Where God Went Wrong, Some More of God's Greatest Mistakes, and Who Is This God Person Anyway? Could have been worse. I think it's a halfway decent take, actually, except for those problems, which we now want to fix. I am going to first talk with you about the debreathing module from Waves. And after I do that, I'll talk about all the rest of the modules I like to use. This is a really interesting thing. I'm going to play this without allowing you to hear what it's doing, and just let you look at it for a minute. What you see in this graph is where the plugin thinks there's a breath. And this is like a 5-second running tally of the recording. And the two graphs are designed to allow you to adjust this thing in order to eliminate false positives and false negatives. What I mean by that is we want the thing to not accidentally think something that's not a breath is actually a breath. If I say hello and it hears the H as a breath and it truncates that, that would be terrible. And we also want it to make sure that it doesn't miss something that actually is a breath. So the way this is working is on the top graph, it's giving you a running tally of how it compares the waveform that's being played. And it's looking at all these waveforms and comparing them in real time to its database of waveforms that are known to be breath sounds. So along the top, the higher the graph is, the closer it seems to be to a stored waveform that this plugin knows to be a breath sound. The bottom one, this bottom graph, is simply amplitude or energy. The idea being that a breath sound is going to be considerably softer than a normal sound. And by using these two controls in combination and by adjusting the threshold of energy on the one hand and proximity to a breath sound in terms of a wave shape on the other hand, it allows me to tailor breath detection from one recording to the next. And I don't think I'm going to say much more about it than that. I've found that it's been really helpful to experiment with this thing and to make small adjustments. And in my experiments, I've discovered that it's best to keep this threshold as low as it can be. You want it to just barely ride above the crests of most of this non-breath material, and then you'll notice that the breaths jump out. And here's one that's missed. I'm going to pause it right here, and we're going to go over this part again. And it's interesting. Sometimes it detects it and sometimes it doesn't. Let me bring the audio up so you can hear it. You won't hear it well because it's come through the speakers into my microphone here.
Gravity and more things to do in zero gravity and more.
It's a very faint breath. This is a very subtle little casual breath sound, which is why it doesn't capture it every single time.
More things to do in zero gravity and more.
And if I wanted to be more sure that it's going to grab it, I might lower this threshold or I might raise this threshold. So all in all, a very interesting plugin, and I'm actually quite impressed with it, and I'm going to continue to use it. What about fixing the rest of the crap in this recording? Again, I played it for you to begin with, and I hope you were using headphones and listening very closely, because if you weren't using headphones, you probably didn't hear all of the artifacts and issues. I'll allow you to go back in the video and listen to it in headphones if you want. Let me show you the stack of processes that I'm applying to this recording in order to make it pretty. I have one key that I press that I've bound to an effect stack called my latest. I press F15 on my keyboard, and bingo, all of these effects pop up. And in my experience, this is producing a sound that at least I think is pretty good. The first thing that we do to the recording before anything else is allow the debreathing module to go through and do what I just described. It goes through and it locates the breathing. I didn't describe before your options with respect to either eliminating the breath or just attenuating it somewhat. I like the idea of just bringing it down somewhat. In my original recording, I want to breathe in such a way that it sounds sort of natural, but I don't want it to be set up so that you just hear me gasping for air. And so the way I do that is by asking the debreathing plugin to attenuate my breathing sounds by 14 dB, somewhere between 9 to 14 dB, and you can sort of adjust this as you like. 14 may be too much, but you'll be the judge of that. After we've gotten rid of the breath sounds or attenuated the breath sounds, there's a noise reduction module from iZotope, the RX4 package, which is amazing. It's not really required in this particular recording, but if I'm recording in a space that has a lot of noise, like in a hotel room in San Francisco, this is a really handy thing to have. And it's a noise reduction module that's designed to eliminate noise from dialogue in particular. And there's some knobs to tweak, but its automatic mode is great. And you mess with the threshold and the reduction amount until you're happy with the sound. It's really not needed on this recording, but it will help with this noise at the end, which I could have just cropped. But you'll notice a change there in the jacket rustle near the end of the recording. The next thing that we use is the iZotope RX4 decrackle module, which is spectacular for eliminating the mouth sounds and smacks and clicks that I can't seem to stop making. And so that's pretty cool. Interesting thing about this module is that at quality low, it works in real time. At quality high, my CPU can't keep up with the processing. So what I do is I monitor it and I check it out at low quality. And then when I'm about to apply all of these effects together, I'll switch this to high quality and presumably get a slightly better result. After we apply our decrackling, I'm applying a de-esser. The S sounds that I make while I speak, I'm not a real expert at this, but it's widely felt that you want to do something to bring those S's down so they don't explode into your face. And I don't feel like the original recording had a big problem with sibilance, but I am using this plugin occasionally to bring that down a touch. I'm interested in your view about that. If you want to leave a comment about whether you think the de-esser is helping or hurting this recording, let me know. After the de-esser, we have an equalizer. We roll off the low frequencies somewhere around 30 to 60 hertz. I may be a little too aggressive about this by starting to roll off at 70. But I don't think it hurts it too much, and it does help me get rid of the extra plosive sounds and the heavy breathing noises that I make because I'm too close to my microphone. I'm habitually too close to my microphone when I record. This little cut here, I believe, is commonly referred to as a mud cut. It takes out some of the mid-range sounds, and I think its effect is to make my voice just a little bit clearer, as does this high shelf. By boosting some of the high frequencies, it gives it just a little bit of sparkle. And that's what's going on the equalizer setting. By the way, these 4 modules come from ToneBoosters. It's a very affordable package from ToneBoosters, and I've been using these for a while, and I quite like them. Next, I worry about amplitude. The overall volume of the recording should be consistent, and it should be about -3 dB the whole way through. But at the same time, I don't want to over-compress this recording. So my compressor is set to be not terribly aggressive, and I'm going to mute this and start playing this so you can see everything in action. And in particular, while I'm playing this thing, I'm watching the amplitude level as reported by the compressor. And depending on how aggressively I want to control amplitude, I may bring the threshold down somewhat so that all of the recording is being subjected to a graduated amplitude reduction on the basis of how loud it is coming in. I don't want to hit it too hard, so I bring the threshold up a little bit and leave the rest to the barricade. Now, the idea between the compressor and the barricade, which is also known as a limiter, a booster or a limiter, is that certain kinds of sounds, K and C sounds, can jump the amplitude of the overall recording so that you end up with just way too much. And the compressor helps even things out, but it can't really help you with those sudden K sounds, for example. And that's what I rely on the barricade for. So what I do as I allow this recording to play is I'm watching for this to kind of make sure I'm not over compressing it. And I'm also looking at the overall output level as reported by the final limiter. And I'm going to click these guys to reset these peak meters. And my goal is to deliver a recording that is overall -3 dB from peak, because that's just sort of the traditional thing that's done. So we see that every now and then it just kisses the 3 dB. And if I want it to be a little more aggressive about producing a recording that's got a nice sort of overall smooth volume, I might make my compressor just a little bit more aggressive, reset these guys, and as I make my way through the rest of this recording, if it doesn't get too much higher, I sort of watch the maximum output level. And we see here that we're still -4, okay, 4.6, 4.0. So I've done some good with the compressor, if you call that good. And that's kind of it. So my final step to make sure that I'm delivering a recording that's at -3 dB is I adjust the input gain on my barricade, on my limiter. And what I think I'm going to do is add, let's say, 1.5 dB. That's going to bring -4 to -3. And it's also going to take some of the peaks and crush them out a little bit to bring the overall volume of the whole recording up just a shade. So I'm going to bring this whole thing up by 1 dB, 1.5 dB that is. And that's going to bring it's going to hit it at 3.0, but it's never going to get past 3.0 because my output ceiling is set to -3 dB. Let's listen to it. Why don't we listen to it? I'm going to back it up. Actually, before I listen to it, I've already listened to this 1,000 times. So what I'm going to do is set this quality to high. I'm going to apply all of these effects all at once. And you see the progress here one at a time. You see the waveform sort of adjusting as it goes through one cycle or another. By far the most time-consuming process here is the decrackler. And perhaps in the background you can hear my computer, its fan is spinning up as it does this work. All right, so we've done it. Now I'm going to play it for you again and put your headphones on and see if you can hear an improvement to the overall tonal quality of the recording. You let me know if you think it's better, but also be listening for the imperfections that we noticed before. Heavy plosive here, a click here, a click here, a click here, a whole bunch of clicks here, and in fact, you see visually that they are gone. My heavy breathing here, a click at the end, which you can see visually has more or less disappeared, and the rustle is still audible, as you'll hear, but greatly reduced. Let's hear it. This is the story of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, perhaps the most remarkable, certainly the most successful book ever to come out of the great publishing corporations of Ursa Minor. More popular than the Celestial Home Care Omnibus, better selling than 53 More Things to Do in Zero Gravity, and more controversial than Ulan Khaloufad's trilogy of philosophical blockbusters, Where God Went Wrong, Some More of God's Greatest Mistakes, and Who Is This God Person Anyway? I don't know about you, but I think that sounds a great deal better. If you're watching and listening to this, there's a good chance that you've got more experience in audio engineering and more experience in VO than I have. So I'd ask that you leave a comment and tell me what you think about all this so that other folks reading this can benefit from your experience as well. This has been a longer video than I anticipated, but I thank you for watching. And again, please leave me your comments and we'll chat next time. Goodbye, YouTube.